Welcome back to Southern Crime. The verdict is in. The jury deliberated for 30 minutes and they are back. Let's go see what is happening.
Be seated.
I understand that there's a verdict. You may bring the jury.
Now, what's interesting is Alec Murdaugh has been nodding his head the entire trial. I don't know if it was a soothing thing or saying his body saying, yes, I did that every time he was saying no, but this is the first time I've seen him shake his head no. Jim Griffin looks concerned. They have not zoomed over to Poot yet, so I don't know how he's looking. I was not expecting a verdict back in 3 hours. It just totally missed me. I see Buster is there and 4 rows back from him, it looks like. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 rows back from him.
Thank you. Madam Freud, if you'll stand for me. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, if you will pass it up to the clerk, who will pass it to me. And you may be seated.
I really like this judge. I think that he has done an outstanding job. He is an excellent judge.
And rise. That clerk may publish the verdict, starting with the back, not with the. That's it. Starting with the back.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what they said.
Docket number 2022 GS 15 00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116.
Miss Maggie was such a wonderful person.
Verdict.
Oh my
Signed by
God.
the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15 00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116, verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15 00595, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, SC Code -16-23-0490, CDR Code 0549, verdict guilty, signed by the foreperson of the jury, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15 00594, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code 16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict, guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury, 3/2/23.
Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is the verdict of each and every juror, please let it be done by raising your right hands. All right, thank you. Any individual polling requested? All right, Madam Clerk, you'll need to individually poll the jury according to their juror numbers.
Number 193. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 254. Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 326. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 530. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 544.
Yes.
Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 572. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 578.
Is
Was
that,
this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 589.
is that
Was
Randolph
this your verdict? Is it still your verdict?
Jr. hanging up
Juror
again?
630. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729. Was this
Poor
your
Buster.
verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826. Was this your verdict?
Poor Buster.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864. Was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled and the verdict is a unanimous verdict. If you will bring the alternate juror out and have her have a seat in the audience, please. You can stand there, or you can sit back there, whatever you prefer. Okay. Are there any post-trial motions?
We would just renew our previously argued motions for a directed verdict, and at this, on the grounds, on those grounds, we would make a motion for a mistrial and to set aside the verdict.
By the state, response.
Your Honor, based on our previous arguments, we would submit that the case properly went to the jury and the verdict is proper, and we rely on those arguments.
We've been here now 28 days, first few days of jury selection and the remainder receiving testimony, an overwhelming amount of testimony and evidence that was presented to the jury for the jury's consideration. As I indicated to the jury during the jury charge, or the charge in the law, that this was a matter solely for the jury to determine. The court found at the end of the state's case that there was sufficient evidence to find the defendant guilty if the evidence was believed by the jury. Likewise, at the end of the defense's case, when the motion was renewed, the court found that the evidence was sufficient for the jury to find the defendant guilty. The jury has now considered the evidence for a significant period of time, and the evidence of guilt is overwhelming, and I deny the motion. Mr. Murdaugh, you now having been found guilty of 2 counts of murder involving your wife and your son, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. The burden now comes upon the court to impose a sentence. Given the lateness of the hour and the victim's rights that must be taken into consideration and complied with under the Victims' Bill of Rights, and consider what I anticipate to be a number of people who might have something to say regarding sentencing, we will defer sentencing to a later date. Of course, the minimum sentence for murder is 30 years. The maximum sentence is life imprisonment as to each count. And on the weapons charge, the sentence is up to 5 years, or 5 years, which has to be concurrent if a life sentence is imposed. When would you all like to reconvene for sentencing? I would like to give everyone an adequate opportunity to prepare for it.
So we'll be ready at 9:30 in the morning, Your Honor.
We can do it at 9:30 tomorrow morning also.
All right, the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Colleton County Sheriff's Department.
God, poor Buster.
And he may be taken away. Madam Foley and members of the jury, I want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of the state of South Carolina and your fellow citizens of Colleton County. You did not volunteer for this service. You were called upon by being summoned to appear, and Providence that brought you to this moment in time, in these weeks in time. I know that all of you have been here at great sacrifice, particularly the juror whose job was on the line until a miracle happened, I guess, that allowed him to be able to leave rather than to stay rather than leave after 2 or 3 weeks. But I want to thank each one of you all individually and collectively. It's not often that you're called upon to sit in judgment of the actions of your fellow man, but you all responded and you gave due consideration to the evidence. I will make no comment now as to the extent or the overwhelming nature of the evidence, but certainly the verdict that you've reached is supported by the evidence, circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, all of the evidence pointing to only one conclusion. That's the conclusion that you all reached. And so I applaud you all for, as a group and as a unit and individually, evaluating the evidence and coming to the proper conclusion as you saw the law, as you saw the facts. Now that you've served for the next year, you're not eligible to serve again. Now, of course, many people never get called upon. But you're not eligible for the next year, and for 2 additional years, you can be exempted from service because no person is required to serve on jury duty in this court more often than once every 3 years.
I'm going to pause it right there. You know, this has been, for me personally, this has been an emotional roller coaster. You know, my experience with the Murdaughs was that they were very kind people and were nice every time I was around them. There is a feeling in Hampton County that they are up on a pedestal and they are reverent and they can get away with anything. I remember hearing when Stephen Smith died, I remember hearing grumblings about the Murdaughs being involved in it. I heard about many times that Paul or Buster got into trouble and it disappeared by Randolph and Alec. when the boat accident happened and I found out that he was involved, Paul was involved, I was sure that he would get off because he's a Murdaugh and that's what they do. They get off. Things get fixed for them. I never, ever thought that this would happen. Never. That Maggie and Paul would be killed. When the news broke that first night, my first thought was, oh my God, the boat accident is getting not solved, and somebody went after him. And then I think it was the next day that they said they had cleared everybody. And my next thought was, he did it, or he had somebody do it. And then sitting here watching this trial for the last 3 weeks, there was a couple of pieces of evidence that I had heard through my connections existed, but then there was others that I had not heard about at all, and was blown away by the evidence they had. So I went from being sure that he had done it to he absolutely did it. You know, that night from 99.99% to 100%. I believe that the state chose to not go for the death penalty. So I believe that he is probably going to end up with life without the possibility of parole. They said that they're going to be ready at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and I will be here for that. This has been a long road, and I am glad that this part is over. Rest in peace, Maggie and Paul.